Welcome back, basketball fans, to another massive breakdown. Today, we are diving into a storyline that sounds like it was pulled straight out of a video game simulation, yet it is happening right before our eyes in real time. We are talking about an unprecedented clash of generations, styles, and sheer basketball philosophy taking place halfway across the world. The news title making absolute waves across the international basketball community, trending on social media, dominating the forums, and completely taking over the conversation is this. Dwight Howard is honest with BOL, and the sentiment echoing through the streets is that the import of TNT might just be in serious trouble against Macau Superman. To truly understand the gravity of the situation, we have to zoom out and look at the landscape of international basketball in the current calendar year of 2026. We are witnessing the historic 50th season of the Philippine Basketball Association, the PBA, in its highly anticipated Commissioner's Cup. This is the oldest play-for-pay basketball league in Asia, a league with a history so rich and a fan base so passionately devoted that it operates as the absolute heartbeat of a basketball-obsessed nation. But in recent years, the league has faced criticism. Fans have voiced their fatigue over predictable dynasties, the recycling of the same powerhouse teams like San Miguel, Barangay Ginebra, and TNT dominating the finals year after year. The league needed a spark. It needed a renaissance. It needed a spectacle that would force the eyes of the global basketball world back onto its hardwood. Enter the current Commissioner's Cup, a tournament that has shattered all expectations by becoming a sanctuary for former NBA talent, high-profile imports, and fascinating guest teams. On one side of this monumental collision, we have TNT Tropang Giga, a flagship franchise of the PBA, a team known for its relentless pursuit of excellence and a winning culture that accepts absolutely nothing less than a championship. In a move that shocked the entire basketball ecosystem, TNT secured the services of BOL as their import. BOL, the 7'3" unicorn, the son of the legendary Manu Bol, a player who possessed so much tantalizing potential in the NBA with the Denver Nuggets, the Orlando Magic, and the Phoenix Suns, but who ultimately struggled to find a permanent home due to inconsistencies, defensive liabilities, and whispers of attitude issues. TNT took a massive gamble, bringing in a player with legitimate NBA star-caliber talent, hoping that the PBA would be the ultimate stage for him to unleash his unique perimeter-oriented, shot-blocking, high-scoring arsenal. On the flip side of this incredibly compelling narrative, we have the Macau Black Bears, operating as a formidable guest team in the PBA. And who did they bring in to anchor their franchise? None other than a certified first-ballot Hall of Famer, a 3-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year, an NBA champion, and one of the most physically dominant centers to ever play the game, Dwight Howard. Now fully embracing his twilight years as a global basketball ambassador, Dwight has transformed himself into Macau's Superman. After successful and highly publicized stints in Taiwan and various other Asian tournaments, Dwight has proven that even at 40 years old, his sheer physical strength, his rebounding tenacity, and his veteran savvy make him an absolute nightmare for any opposition. The collision course between these two towering figures is what brings us here today. The narrative being pushed that Dwight Howard is ready to give BOL a harsh reality check, and that TNT's prize import is in over his head against the sheer force of Macau's Superman, is not just empty hype. It is a fundamental clash of how the game of basketball is played. It is a new school, positionless, finesse-driven style of BOL going up against the old school, smash-mouth, paint-dominating, physical brutality of Dwight Howard. This is not just a game. It is a referendum on what it takes to survive and conquer in international basketball. It is a storyline dripping with pressure, legacy implications, and undeniable drama. So, how did we get here? Why is BOL facing such intense scrutiny in the Philippines? What exactly makes Dwight Howard such a lethal threat to TNT's championship aspirations? And what does this clash mean for the broader landscape of the sport? Grab your notepad, settle in, and get ready, because we are about to pull back the curtain and conduct an exhaustive, hyper-detailed deep dive into the matchup that has the entire basketball world buzzing. We are breaking down the psychology, the physical traits, the team dynamics, and the raw, unfiltered truth behind Dwight Howard versus BOL. To properly dissect this matchup, we have to break down the individual journeys that led these two titans to the PBA Season 50 Commissioner's Cup. Let us start with TNT's massive investment, BOL, When the news broke that BOL was signing with TNT, the reaction was a mixture of absolute euphoria and cautious skepticism. From a pure talent standpoint, BOL is an anomaly, standing over 7 feet tall with a wingspan that seemingly stretches across the entire court. He possesses the ball-handling skills of guard and the shooting touch of a modern floor-spacing wing. In his early tune-up games, including a highly scrutinized matchup against the Meralco Bolts, BOL showcased flashes of absolute brilliance. He was bringing the ball up the floor, initiating the offense, and hitting long-range three-pointers that left defenders completely helpless. He looked every bit like the unguardable force fans hoped he would be. However, the honeymoon phase quickly met the harsh reality of professional basketball in the Philippines. The PBA is renowned for its incredible physicality. It is a league where referees often let players play through contact, where the paint is a war zone, and where imports are targeted and tested on every single possession. For all of BOL's offensive wizardry, the glaring holes in his game began to surface almost immediately. His perimeter defense was exposed by quicker guards. His reluctance to engage in heavy physical contact in the post became apparent, and his overall consistency wavered. Furthermore, off-the-court issues began to cast a shadow over his stint. BOL has notoriously dodged media availability, refusing interviews and creating a disconnect with a passionate Filipino fan base that thrives on interaction and narrative. Esteemed sports analysts in the country have gone on record criticizing TNT management for failing to establish clear media guidelines for their star import. When an import comes to the PBA, they are expected to be more than just a player. They are expected to be a leader, an ambassador, and a figurehead for the franchise. The rumblings of an attitude problem, the same whispers that followed him out of the NBA, have resurfaced, creating an immense pressure cooker environment for TNT. They are banking on his talent to deliver a championship, but the psychological and physical toll of the league is testing his resolve. Now, contrast this with Dwight Howard's tenure with the Macau Black Bears. Dwight's journey post-NBA has been nothing short of fascinating. Instead of quietly retiring, he took his Superman cape and embarked on a global tour, treating international leagues with a level of respect and enthusiasm that has endeared him to millions. When Dwight steps onto the floor, he knows exactly who he is. He is not trying to cross people up at the top of the key. He is not trying to prove he is a stretch five. He is there to set bone-crushing screens, secure every single rebound within a 10-foot radius, protect the rim with his life, and dunk everything that comes his way. This brings us to the core of the title, Dwight Howard being honest with BOL. In the world of professional basketball, veterans often use physical intimidation and fundamental discipline to teach younger, flashier players a lesson. Dwight Howard represents everything that BOL struggles against. Dwight is immovable in the post. If BOL tries to defend Dwight on the block, he is giving up an unimaginable amount of functional strength and mass. Dwight can simply back him down, seal him off, and command the paint with absolute authority. On the other end of the floor, while BOL might be able to pull Dwight out to perimeter, Dwight's defensive IQ and rim protection mean that if BOL tries to drive into the paint, he is going to meet a wall of muscle and experience. The tactical implications for this matchup are incredibly complex. TNT's coaching staff has to figure out how to hide BOL defensively against a traditional, bruising center like Howard. Do they double-team Dwight in the post and risk leaving Macau's shooters open? Do they play a zone defense and hope Dwight cannot exploit the gaps? Conversely, the Macau Black Bears have to scheme against BOL's perimeter shooting. If Dwight is forced to chase BOL around the three-point line, it takes him away from the basket, neutralizing his greatest asset as a rebounder and rim protector. But beyond the X's and O's, this matchup is a psychological war. The phrase "Yer Ong importing TNT," implying BOL is in deep trouble, stems from belief that BOL lacks the grit and the mental toughness to withstand a grueling, physical battle against a Hall of Fame caliber big man. Dwight Howard is the ultimate test of character for BOL. If BOL shrinks away from the contact, if he settles for contested low-percentage jump shots because he is afraid to challenge Dwight at the rim, TNT's offense will stagnate, and Macau will impose their will. This clash also highlights a fascinating evolution in how we view basketball talent. For the past decade, the basketball world has been obsessed with unicorns. We want 7-footers who can play like point guards. But the game, at its core, still requires fundamental elements: rebounding, boxing out, setting screens, and defending the paint. Dwight Howard is a walking masterclass in those traditional big man fundamentals. He is a stark reminder that while finesse and shooting are beautiful, raw power and foundational disciplines still win basketball games. When Dwight goes up against a player like BOL, it is a collision of these two ideologies. Can the ultimate modern unicorn overcome the ultimate traditional powerhouse? The PBA fans are eating this up. The local vloggers and sports media outlets are buzzing, producing countless breakdowns and predictions. The narrative has transcended the actual standings of the Commissioner's Cup. This individual matchup has become a standalone event. For TNT, an organization that demands championships, the pressure on BOL is astronomical. He is not just playing for a contract. He is playing to prove that his style of basketball can translate to winning on a physical, demanding stage. For Dwight Howard, this is another chapter in his joyful, dominant victory lap around the globe, proving that Superman still has plenty of flight left in him. As we wrap up this extensive deep dive analysis, we have to look at the broader implications of what this clash means for the future. The sheer magnitude of having Dwight Howard and BOL competing against each other in the PBA Season 50 Commissioner's Cup is a testament to the undeniable globalization of basketball. It shows that the sport is no longer confined to a single league or a single continent. High-level, incredibly compelling basketball narratives are unfolding all over the world, and the PBA has brilliantly positioned itself right at the epicenter of this international renaissance. For BOL, this chapter with TNT Tropang Giga is the defining crossroads of his entire professional career. The talent has never been the question. The length, the shooting stroke, the extraordinary handle for a man of his immense size. These are undeniable facts. But basketball is not played on paper, and it is not played in a vacuum. It is played in hostile arenas, against grown men who are fighting for their livelihoods, against veterans like Dwight Howard who will use every ounce of their physical strength and mental acuity to break you down. If BOL can rise to this occasion, if he can embrace the physicality, answer the bell, and lead TNT deep into the playoffs, he will not only secure his legacy in the Philippines, but he will send a massive message to the rest of the basketball world that he has matured into a winning player. However, if he folds under the pressure, if he allows the mind games and the physical dominance of players like Howard to dictate his output, the narrative surrounding his attitude and his lack of competitive fire will only grow louder and more permanent. For Dwight Howard, his tenure with the Macau Black Bears and his tours across Asia are cementing a profoundly beautiful final act to a legendary career. We often see aging superstars desperately clinging to the fringes of the NBA, refusing to adapt and fading quietly into the background. Dwight chose a different path. He chose to take his massive personality, his infectious smile, and his Hall of Fame resume directly to the fans who adore him across the globe. He is acting as an ambassador, elevating the profile of leagues like the PBA, and providing an incredible benchmark for younger players to test themselves against. When he steps on the court and gets honest with a player like BOL through his play, he is imparting lessons that you cannot learn in a practice gym. He is teaching the younger generation what true, unyielding physical presence looks like. Ultimately, the phrase, "Yer on importing TNT," perfectly encapsulates the high-stakes drama of professional sports. It is the drama of the unknown. We do not know if the finesse and the modern brilliance of BOL can survive the devastating, old-school power of Dwight Howard Superman. We do not know if TNT's gamble will result in a glorious championship or a highly scrutinized failure. But what we do know, without a shadow of a doubt, is that this is exactly the kind of electrifying, narrative-rich basketball that makes us fall in love with the game in the first place. It is a clash of eras, a clash of styles, and a clash of wills playing out in front of one of the most passionate fan bases on the planet. Thank you for joining me on this incredibly deep dive into the PBA's most fascinating storyline. We have covered the history, the tactics, the psychology, and the immense stakes surrounding BOL and Dwight Howard. The beauty of this sport is that the story is always evolving, and the next chapter is about to be written on the hardwood.